All right, everybody, and welcome to today's and this week's YAWA. If anybody that follows us on Instagram may have seen the post that I put out last night saying, preparing to shoot YAWA as I sipped on some bourbon. And unfortunately, we ran out of time last night, so instead of bourbon, Ethan, this week you get slightly over-caffeinated, Ethan. Let's get started.
Let's get started. Hopefully he doesn't answer these questions too quickly with being on caffeine overload.
Hey, now.
I'll help him slow down. Just enough.
So we got a couple cool things to talk about. First of all, this weekend, actually, so you will be seeing this prior to us actually going, because we do have a little bit of a delay in some of the videos that come out, but we will be going gator hunting, aka fishing, aka whatever exactly it is, with a really good friend of ours, and we'll be in Louisiana on the far eastern border near Mississippi, kind of. And this will be the second time I've ever done this. It'll be the first time Kat has done this. And
Yep.
This man is ready. He's told me we're going to fish some deep water. He wants to catch a big one. He's caught some big ones before. Last year he said he got like an 8-footer, which is a good
That's
gator.
a dang big gator.
Yeah, which last time that I went would have been,
Oh, man.
8 years ago, maybe 7, 8 years ago, something.
Yeah.
A while.
Yeah.
And that's what we got. My uncle and I both went down. We both got 8-footers, and it's a big animal. And I think the crazy thing to think about is he's talking about hopefully we can get like a 10 or 12-footer. Well, you think about a 10-footer, 2 foot is not that much extra. That's probably pretty close to 2 foot, don't you think?
Yeah.
The distance between these microphones is like 18 inches.
Yeah,
If you want me
that's
to
what
get a
I was
tape
gonna
measure,
say.
I can go do that. But the thing about it is when you get into those longer length alligators, they almost get exponentially wider for every foot they grow longer.
So the longer they get, the wider they get. So they turn out to be really big.
Yeah, a 10-footer is drastically larger than an 8-footer, and a 12 drastically larger than a 10-footer. So it's kind of a cool exponential growth pattern. And he's got some big plans, it is fishing, hunting, but we're going to do our best to video document, put this together so that you guys on our channel can watch our gator experience. And
Some highlights from the trip.
yeah, hoping it turns out, but we will keep you posted on that.
And Aiden's actually going to be road tripping with us, but not helping us gator hunt. We're not using him in the baiting process. None of that.
Yeah, we got him hung up there above. We got to keep him like 8-10 inches off the water so we can get a real big one and just have him dangle there, right?
No, absolutely not. And
Aiden,
it's
the gator
not
bait.
safe for him to come out in the John boats when we're checking the lines or anything like that either. So he'll get to hang out with the family that we're staying with while we're out doing the actual gatoring stuff.
There is a chance if there's some teal in the area that we get a little bonus teal hunt, and we will do our best to document what happens. And then as far as some other cool stuff, we do have some few videos that I want you guys to be tuning in, paying attention to the channel coming up very soon. There's some questions that get asked a ton about how to properly go for walks and how to manage walks with young dogs in town, with people, with dogs, with distractions. We're going to try and set that up with our little Thunder Pup, who is in the perfect time frame to be horrible at that and need some management.
Yes.
And then we've got a video talking about how to help those uber fast eaters. A lot of people are struggling with that. And then the last is going to be, is your dog ready for collar conditioning? These are 3 really big topics, and they're going to be coming out very soon. So be staying in tune with the channel. If you don't already, hit that like button. I always ask for it over here. Hit that like button, subscribe, give us a thumbs up on this video. Now, let's get started on some questions because we had some really good ones this week.
We did, and I think they're really good ones to answer because it is nigh on hunting season for people. So, first question from Matthew Sharrow. I have a 10-month-old Griff who has had her bird and gun intro, and we are starting to set out pigeons and launchers. I would like to get her some more practice at a game farm. Are there any tips for a successful training day? Are there any training things she should know before we go?
There are probably a few.
Yeah, so this is a good question, and it sounds like you're still in the training process and not quite to the hunting process. And I want to draw attention to there is a difference between getting a dog tuned up on a preserve for the hunting season that has already had hunting experience, and a difference between taking a young dog out that's had a few pigeons and launchers and getting them a little more real hunting-like experience prior to actually going hunting for their first season. So there are differences. And we actually had a question about that at another time. So if you're listening, you'll get your answer.
Yeah, the big thing that we have to look at is, first of all, the list of stuff that we already put together in a video that says these are the things that you should have before going hunting. If your dog has those things, which it doesn't really talk about 100%.
Yeah, it asks what should they know before going.
Okay, so we're going to want you to check out that video. It covers the things, but the gist of it, we go into more depth there, but the gist of it is bird and gunfighter introduction and basic understanding of recall, collar conditioning, so you can make sure pup's coming back to you. Those are the big ones. The rest of it can kind of
learn as you go.
Learn as you go, and don't expect perfection, and you will be all right. Expect lots of mistakes and to help them to learn and develop. Now, the next side of it is if you're going to this game farm, you want to try and utilize it more as a training situation. Don't get all 6 or 7 of your buddies out there all blasting away at one bird, blowing stuff up, overwhelming your dog. You can think of them as babies, right? And they need to take those small steps to get to the end goal. End goal, we can have 5, 6, 10 people, whatever, shooting away all different directions, and the dog's going to be able to handle that. We're not to that point yet. So use it more as a one-on-one type of situation. Try and get somebody to come gun for you so you can pay attention to your puppy and help them through that by making sure the situation's right. You know, birds flying away, they don't see it. Don't be shooting wild flush stuff right off the bat. Just make sure that everything is focused on they're paying attention, they see what's happening, they know what's happening, and you'll be a lot better off.
Yeah, utilize it as that baby step between a completely controlled setup situation with launchers and pigeons to being on a full-blown wild pheasant hunt. You need that middle ground for some of that connections to be made for your dog. And if you take each bird individually, slowly break that down into what do I want my dog to truly be able to accomplish out here? What are my goals? Well, you're most likely going to want your dog to search productively and hunt the field, not just walk on a path that's mowed through the preserve. You're going to want your dog to break out into that cover and find birds for you. You're going to want them to point them, and you're going to want them to be able to retrieve them. So think about all those pieces, and when you get your dog out there, and if you are struggling with any side of those where they're not breaking into the cover, help them get into the cover. Move into the cover. Don't just hunt that path. I know some of these preserves are set up where there's strips of food plots and then walking paths. Well, if your puppy is uncomfortable getting into the thick cover, help them out. Get in the thick cover with them. If your puppy hasn't had any experience and has never smelled a pheasant before but has been pointing pigeons, they're gonna bump that first pheasant because they don't know that that's an important bird to be pointing as well. So don't just shoot that one for them. They make a mistake, maybe help them on the next one. You've done some YAWA training potentially, introduce that cue. And then if they're making a retrieve, keep in mind a pheasant is a lot bigger than a pigeon. And they're typically a lot hardier bird. So even if you hit them, they might not be completely dead when your dog gets on top of them, and they could be running, they could be flapping around, they could be spurring. So that dog could be a little hesitant about making those retrieves on a bigger bird that's still flapping and pretty lively at times. So you want to make sure that you take time to work through some retrieves, not just grab that bird, shove it in your bag, and let's go get the next one. Let's work through a few hand-thrown retrieves after that bird's dispatched so that they can build some confidence on a bigger bird.
Yeah, slow it down a little bit, help them through the process. And that's a big part of what our program is based around. We got to think about, and that's why it gets brought up on occasion. You may hear us use the term cue, not command. And we aren't force breaking dogs. We are training them, teaching them, developing them. And I think that taking that mindset, that's part of like a baby step to a mindset of don't get frustrated, figure out what can I do to help them in this situation that they're obviously struggling, and you're going to be a lot happier in the long run.
Yeah, the smaller steps you take to get there, I think the faster you'll actually get there. So
100%. All right. What do we have next?
Next question, which actually really segues very nicely, Ethan. Good job on that. From what we were just talking about. This is from Isaac Turton. Do you have any other YouTube content creators or podcasts that you would recommend that have a similar philosophy or style in training? Already started following Lone Duck Outfitters from your suggestions.
Bob, Uncle Bob.
So awesome for taking our suggestions in our previous YAWAs on checking him out. He's been putting out some new videos. If you haven't had a chance to look at them, head on over there, look at them.
I think they're on a schedule of somewhere between 2 and 3 a week. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be a lot of stuff start rolling through. And we're actually, I didn't mention this in the beginning, but we're going to be headed out there again to do a little more work with him. And I'm going to shoot a couple videos for us, and then we'll end up trying to help him maybe if I can, just because it's nice to have extra video people there to get a few more videos in his queue coming up too.
And now, I don't get to go with this time. Wah, wah, wah. I know. But hey, next time. I'm putting it on the docket for next time.
So I want to start with, there's really not a lot out there. We've looked, there are quite a few other dog training channels, but the thing about dog trainers in general is ask 10 dog trainers, get 10 different answers. And that is a very commonly used, joke amongst trainers themselves, is there are 101 ways to skin the cat, right? I mean, it's all different, but I think if you look into it, it's great that you mentioned that. It's awesome that you already follow Lone Duck. Bob's a great guy. And I think even though you're going to see differences, you're going to see similarities, it's going to be an overall similar feel of an approach that is, how can we help them through this? I see they're struggling. And most good dog trainers are that way. They understand this dog is struggling, and we're not going to try and force the, round peg in the square hole or whatever. We're going to figure out a way to help them, whether they 100% realize this or not. There is no such thing as a cookie cutter training method. It doesn't work for all dogs. And I think that there was more of that in the past. You hear about washouts, and field trial washouts was a big thing, but that was even more from a sense of the dog didn't have what it took. That dog needed to be able to be big running and steady and do all of these things, and it doesn't have that. They're competing at a higher level. When you come back down to the average dog trainer that's trying to help your dog be the best it can be for you and what you're looking for, we've talked about ceilings. Not all dogs are created equal, but we're still going to try our best to find the way to help them to become the best that they can be. Now, all of those things full circle. There are not a ton of other YouTubers out there that are doing similar stuff to what we're doing, other than Bob that's rolling into it now. There are a few podcasts. Most of them are going to get you into a whole different realm of dog training stuff. And also, I know Bob has a podcast too, just throwing that one out there, but there is a whole different realm of dog training world that you're going to get into. They utilize collars. They're going to get into the more of the science and the psychology, I think would be the proper term, like how the dog's brains work. Behavioralists, things that are talking about why dogs do what they do, how to work through some things. But I'm going to say right now, I enjoy learning. I enjoy listening. I enjoy watching them. And there's not very many that I have found that were worth my time to continue listening to for one reason or another. It's just like, didn't feel like there was new, fresh information on a regular basis. It was kind of turned into the same two guys talking about the same two things, and they never moved on. So yeah, if you find something, tell us, because I want to know, but I don't have a lot of great options for you.
And the other side of it is, so our channel, we really want to help people and educate and teach. And part of that is by showing you an actual training session. That's what our channel revolves around. We're not taking dogs
that probably sets us the biggest apart or sets us, different, whether it's better or worse. It's what makes us different.
So you can watch us work through something and see that, hey, if you were watching Thunder's last place training video that we worked on, I had to work through some things during that session to make some progress with him. And I had to adapt in that actual session because he wasn't necessarily reacting to the vibrate enough. I needed some more stimulation, and that allowed me to add that in that session, and I made that adaptation then. So I think that our videos have that not a ton of other videos do. I know when we were out shooting some videos with Bob, when he started some of his videos,
it's going to be similar.
Very similar feel
like
that way.
One take type of. This is what the training session looks like. This is a live training session.
Yep. Though we're shooting it and it's going to get put up on YouTube, next week, just because of the way that editing happens, and editing in a sense of making sure the audio that we've got on our lapel mics matches up with the video. Not, we're going to cut out the stuff that didn't go right. Yeah. It just takes time to get that scheduled. So,
okay. So these are a couple of these are coming in to me that might be decent options to look at. There's one that I have seen a couple videos that he's put out. It's called Simpatico, Simpatico. He is uber sciencey. All of the right verbiage, and not like, I don't want to say we talk down so that you understand, but when you start jibble-jarbling a bunch of science words about operant conditioning and whatever else we're using about this
confusing.
Yes, it detracts from the information we're trying to pass on. He's pretty sciencey about it, but does a pretty good job breaking it down. He does not show live training sessions. He does show small training clips involved in a video, but he's got some good stuff. So that one isn't one. That would be one that's not bad to look at. There is another guy. His name is, he's got the beard. Have you know what I'm talking about? Maybe not. And I can't even say that I absolutely love his videos. He does a lot of talking, and they're all really long. They're like anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour long. I've never made it through an entire one of his videos. So, and that's watching them on double time. If you didn't know you can do that, you can actually speed up these even if you want to.
If Ethan's not already talking fast enough for you.
Yes, you can speed it up, and I'll talk. But you can, you want me to repeat that back to you? But you can bump them up to like 1.25 or 1.5. So you can cut down the time that these take here. I watched his because he's a little bit slower talker on 2-speed, and watch him walk around real fast with his dogs. And he has kind of a cool approach to helping adjust dogs and everything else. So that's something you can take from it. He allows dogs to kind of live and work as a pack and help each other. But you don't remember what
the channel's called?
It's, I think Ronnie, is,
Can you YouTube?
Yeah, I can. Producer.
Producer.
Let me look here. Ronnie. I think it's Ronnie. He's one of the bigger YouTubers. There's another one. It's called Zach George Dog Training. You can just move on about that. That guy's just a goofball. He's just a goofball. Another one that's pretty good that combines several different things, and they do a lot of consults, would be McCann Dog Training. I can't really speak to the fact that they have a similar approach to what we do, but if you're looking for specific things they do a little more behavioralist type stuff. So that would be one to look into. It's McCann Dog Training. How
do you spell it?
McCann Dog Training. It's him and his wife, again, that they primarily do training consults and things like that. And I'll find this before this is over. By part 3, I will have figured out what this guy's name is, okay? Let's go ahead and move on to the next question while I continue to look. Oh, here it is. Stoning, not Ronnie. Stoning Dennis. And Stoning, here's a video right here. This one's smaller. It's like teaching children to teach puppies. And that one's short. But it's not the same approach that we take from showing an actual video of a training session standpoint. He'll show dogs that kind of understand stuff pretty well, and there's not much to it. And it's him and his son. He's kind of a goofball, but it's fun. A lot of people have said that they can relate to him and some of the stuff that happens. Some of these are really short. Some of these are really long. American versus English Labradors, part 1 and 2. It's a total of 3 hours of video. So he does not have a problem talking if you have a long drive and want to listen. But all in all, those would be some of the bigger ones that I have actually watched some of the videos and they do a decent job. So there's a few other ones out there that, but those would be a couple that I would check. And even if it's just for, you're looking for some more information on a specific topic that pops up that we don't necessarily have covered yet.
Great question. And that's probably all we have time for in part 1.
We will see you shortly in part 2.